So I'm just setting up for cutting, making a template for my curved roof section. So this piece is 84 inches wide, the same width as my camper there. It's about 15 inches. The overall height of the curve is going to be 12 inches, so I got a little bit of wiggle room. So I've set this up. Got a little screw here. It's the center of this piece, which is 42 inches. And my radius is 78¼ inches. So we are going to run this. Pardon me. Let's see what I'm doing here. Okay. So I've made a mark. Just going to pull this pretty tight. So I'm just going to wrap this around like this. If I keep my pencil vertical, of course it's going to be right where my phone is. Okay, this is okay, well, that's a pretty good curve. Yeah, that might be a problem. Oh. I have to do a little do-over. So I actually erased that with some lacquer thinner, and I redrew my line. The way I wrapped it around the pencil, if you weren't careful, the pencil would actually spin back and forth. So this one I was very careful not to move it. So it's turned out pretty well. And we got to cut this and then clean it up on my little rigid belt sander there. And then we'll have a template to cut our 3 gussets. So we're going to cut this curve. Oh, this is going to be a little bit annoying, I'm not going to lie. Well, I guess we're going to clamp it. Into my bench here. Too close. It's going to be really annoying, really bouncy. Bad as I thought. So I'm trying to just leave the line so I can clean it up on my little belt sander. Okay, we'll try that. Okay, here we go. Let's clean it up. Let's see if I can get you guys a better angle here. Oh, there it is. You take a sanding block, sandpaper glued onto this block here. You can actually feel there's little high spots. Well, I have my pieces marked out. Just going to jigsaw off the bulk of the waist. I ended up cutting my pattern in half. My one side, it's a little bit wavy. It was a free sheet, so one part had a little dip. I didn't like it. So this way it'll be nice and balanced. This half is nice. We're going to use 1 and 2 parts to pattern route with a router. Try to hog this off, and then once I have a whole piece, I'll use that as a template for these other 2. So I'm just going to jigsaw off this waist, and my phone is really low, so I'm going to charge it up here, and I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so I've got my pieces rough jigsawed. Try to leave less than a 1/4 inch. You don't want to get too close. So I've struck a line here that's square to this bottom edge. You have my template. Flip it over, do the other half, and then I'll use this to do my other pieces. I may have already explained that. I'm just using a bearing bit. This one actually has a top and a bottom bearing. So it's actually very convenient, depending if your template is above or below your work. You don't have to switch out bits. I'm going to be using this bearing here to ride against my template and trim this up. Just gonna safety it up. Okay, so I got my template set up. Do the other side. Because I'm kind of running out of places to set the router. I'm going to sand this with a sanding block. So I'm going to use this template to do the other one. All right, let us okay. Vulgarity. Snap. So I'm just tracing. My piece. Line it up. don't know if you can see that. Anyway, my pencil line, so it lined up pretty well. I flipped it end for end. And that's why I ended up cutting my original template in half, because when I did flip it end for end in my test, it wasn't actually, it wasn't a very nice perfect arc. So this will end up being a lot better. Okay, now I can use this to do my other pieces. So I've tacked a couple little blocks on the end here, so my router comes, it's not going to be all tippy at the end. So I've got my piece that I've done with my original thin template. It's the new template. Let's see what I'm doing here. So there's a tiny little divot here. I wobbled a tiny bit, but it's nice and straight at the top, so I'm just going to make sure the bearing is in contact with that area, and it is. Okay. And I also, as I'm routing, I like to hold my finger on this lever, which is the release for this. Sometimes the vibration will loosen it, and you'll move up or down and route right into your piece. Incredibly annoying. Here we go. The reason I set it on the floor is because you can't pull it on the cord and drop it onto the floor from your bench. So it's a very safe spot to store your tools. Okay, that turned out pretty good. Crazy spot there, but not too bad. Actually, first thing, let's get rid of these. I pinned this on first before I screwed it. So. There we go. Same thing. When you're trying to screw a template down, as you screw it, if it pulls it, it moves it a little bit. If you put a couple pins in, and usually 3, keeps it from bridging. So. So not too bad. And pretty good. Considering the length of distance they're going to be apart from each other, that's quite a delight. Okay, so actually, change of plans. Because this piece is actually going in the middle, it's deeper here. It's gonna sit inside with some extra framing. It's for the, when you first crawl into the cab over. But it actually gives me extra support, so I'm gonna use this one. Now is the new jig, and then I'll use the bottom bearing on this. And then I can put those blocks back on for extra support, because when it's super thin up at the tip here, it's really easy. The router is floating basically on just one little tiny piece of the base. And it is problematic. Shouldn't go anywhere. Blocks on. Okay. Oh yeah. So I've got to switch to the bottom bearing, because this below is now the new template. Very handy. Here's the first look. My gussets in place. I don't know, it might be the ugliest truck camper, or it might end up looking pretty cool. So I've just marked, I've got a notch around the door, and then I've got to do a little bit of notching on the front gusset, and also the middle. So I'll come back when all that's done. Here's the middle piece. Let's see, a little bit of an angle right now. But I'm gonna have some pieces coming down and some framing in the back. I'm gonna cut another arch out, our actual headroom clearance, and then this is the front. Hang on, my apologies. So I don't know, guys. May look ugly as sin. Might be cool. So I have my notches made, or marked out, I should say. I'm gonna see if I can film this. Was kind of hard to film, but that is how to fairly easily make a nice square notch. So we have my rafter gussets, 2 of 3 of them. Another one right here. I've got to cut another arch section out. So that's going to be going here where the cab over is. So to climb in the cab over, I need a little bit more headroom than that. And the front. Construction-wise, if it was straight, it would have been a lot easier. This way it'll break it up with a nice shadow line at least. So the front won't look quite so bulky. It is already going to be bulky looking, but well, I guess I'll have to jazz up the outside like a little hobbit house or a gypsy bardo. So I've got to cut those couple horns off here. I ran the studs all the way up and through. And do that. Cut my arch here. And that's what's next. Here's where I'm leaving it for the day. I didn't film a lot of the stuff I was doing. My phone was pretty low. I still haven't trimmed those horns off the top. This is just a temporary brace in the middle. It's actually not even secured, I just cut it to stick in. So we have this piece, and then this is the front. I don't know if you can see the whole angle. We'll see. It may be the ugliest thing in the world. So my cutout. I have a little walk here. Oh, gotta open the door, Les Nessman style. So it's gonna do an arch. But I decided it would be easier to trim out the inside if it was square. And I'm probably gonna bring framing down to here. Step back a little bit. Actually, let's get this temporary brace out of the way. So yeah, I'm probably going to have some framing coming down. I don't know, I might leave it open-ish, maybe do some kind of wire mesh or something cool. Something, so let a little bit more light in, but kind of block it off. It's gonna be the kitchen area anyway. It's your bed, and then on this side it's the dinette. So I don't know. But yeah, it'll add a little bit of support there as well. It'll be easier to trim out because I'm going to bring the framing in. Let's go outside again. My apologies. Then I can continue the framing down 1.5 inches. And then I can buff this out with some studs and then just skin the whole thing. It'll add a lot of strength to the middle because right now if you press on the middle, it actually does flex down a tiny little bit. So that is where we're at, folks.